Hello, Steve at Trick89 for Steve at 89. Well, there's been a lot of talk about Paul Wesley and his performance as Captain Kirk in Strange New Worlds, Season 1, Episode 10. I hated it. I thought he looked too old, too slim. He had no charisma, no swagger. Nothing about him stood out, no presence. He was just like generic captain guy. He didn't really do anything. Wasn't that he didn't act well, it's just he didn't have that extra special Kirk factor. I mean, Anson Mount has something as Pike. There's something about him. This guy has nothing. And it's not just, old Gatekeeper doesn't want new... I have no problem with Anson Mount as Pike because he's good. Rebecca Romaine as number one, I'm okay with her because she's good. Ethan Peck as Spock, I'm okay with him because he's good. This guy was not good. It's not that. But people are doing that, of course, because people are criticising and then people are attacking them saying, oh, you don't like Star Trek, you're a gatekeeper, you're not a real fan, you're a toxic fan, you're a racist. Somehow they're tying it all into the Discovery stuff. You're just a hater, all that sort of stuff. And like, no, he just didn't give a good performance. If he was a good Kirk, I'd be just as fine with it as I am as, all the other characters have been recast, have done a good job of. And the weirdest thing is seeing people latch onto him like, he's our Kirk. I'm like, who are you speaking for? Who's us? Who are you talking about? And you've had one performance from the guy and one day to sit with it. Well, a couple of days to sit with it now, but how is he your Kirk now? Is he your generation's Kirk or something? Like, he's speaking for your generation? Like, these people just are latching onto him just so they can be victimized by the people criticizing him so then they can fight about it. It's like, it's so tribal and it's just really bizarre. And I'm just like, really? And the defending the performance, that's the funniest thing. I'm like, how can you defend the performance just because you want to, argue with people? Like, it's like, well, anyone can see that was a weak performance, but people are saying it was great, and I'm like, no, it wasn't. I know you want an argument. I know you want to disagree with people. You want to, own the haters, own the gatekeepers or whatever. But it's just, yeah. And the other thing people are bringing up as a defense, I'm like, oh, he's a different character in a different universe. I'm like, well, no, he's a different timeline in the same universe. It's an alternative universe from the original Star Trek, so it is still a different Kirk. Either way, oh yeah, I think I just got that. But see, there are people acknowledging that Strange New Worlds is an alternative universe, along with the JJ Kirk and all that, and it's a different timeline from that universe, and that is a different Kirk from the Kirk in the original Star Trek. So if you actually agree that, or acknowledge, because it's a fact, it is a reboot, it is a different universe, if you acknowledge that, then he could be a totally different Kirk. That does make sense. But for the people who are arguing both that Strange New Worlds is canon and a continuation of the original Star Trek universe, then it doesn't work. And they're saying that, and that it's the same Kirk, and that the timeline has changed him. And I'm like, it's like 6 months. Pike was promoted to Fleet Admiral or Fleet Captain or whatever about a year before Balance of Terror, I think, or more than a year, because Kirk was in command for about a year. By the time we see him in the Corbomite maneuver, he's been captain for about a year. I'm not sure where No Man has gone before Lay's in that first year, but basically that's a year into Kirk's 5-year mission, which is why everyone knows each other and they're all familiar. It's not like, he just walked on, it's his first mission or anything, which some people seem to think that the start of the first season is the start of the 5-year mission. It's not. And supposedly Pike is injured about 6 months before Balance of Terror. So it's really a year, maybe a year and a half since Kirk got command. So if Pike hadn't have accepted the promotion to Fleet Captain and stayed Captain of the Enterprise, Kirk wouldn't have gotten that position. He would have gotten the Farragut's position instead. So the only difference is he's been serving on a regular Starfleet vessel instead of the what do you call the main captain? The main captain, the main ship. You know what I mean. So that's not enough of a difference. Just the fact that he's not on the main, most important ship. He's just on one of the other ships, which are just as important and do the same job. It's not going to be enough. A year of just not being the captain of the Enterprise and being the captain of the Farragut, which is still a starship with all the same duties and issues, is not enough to make him a totally different person. So people arguing that, oh, it's a totally different person, are only right if they're acknowledging that, the show's a reboot and it's in an alternative universe. But the people who are arguing that it is canon, it's the same universe, but still arguing that the timeline difference could explain all the differences in his character and the fact he looks about 5 years older than he should be, or maybe 10 years older than he should be. Because, Kirk, I'm not sure what age he was. I think he was around 30 when he got the captaincy of the Enterprise. So he should be about 30 in that. And people are getting confused and thinking that it's in Pike's timeline, which they think is 10 years before the start of the original series, because they sort of skipped the first 5-year mission, and we were only seeing Pike's second 5-year mission on the Enterprise, or his third one, whatever. We're only seeing one 5-year mission, basically. So we're only 5 years before the original series, not 10. And, so some people are saying he looks too old. I think he does look too old. He looks older than Shatner did when he was doing the show in the 60s. And he's supposed to be the same age. Some people are thinking he should be 5 years younger. So, but he still looks too old either way. So yeah, I just find it fascinating that people are using the timeline defense to say why he's a totally different character, but that only works if, like I said, you acknowledge that the show's a reboot. If you're trying to say it's a continuation, then that doesn't make any sense. There are people claiming him just, I think, to argue, just so they can be victims of the gatekeepers and be like, oh, they're attacking my Kirk, it's my generation's Kirk. I'm like, you've seen one episode of the guy, you have no attachment to him yet. You could not have formed an attachment in a day. I saw people messaging like that same day, basically that next day, sort of saying things like that. So it's kind of funny that the lengths tribalism will go just, to stake their claim on something, so they can argue about it. But it's all kind of fascinating. This is supposed to be a 5-minute video, but it's turning into a 10-minute video. I don't know why I do 5 or 10. I just find they're sort of nice viewing times when I watch videos. So far as committing to a video, 5 or 10 minutes is it. 15 is a stretch. It'd have to be a complicated issue. But yeah. So I don't know. I just find it really funny. I found his performance was bad. I'm really shocked that they couldn't find a better actor. There are so many actors out there who have a kind of Kirk sort of thing. Because, Shatner's creation of Kirk was genius, but that Shatner vibe, that swagger, that traditional sort of masculine sort of thing, it's not that hard to find in a lot of actors, and it's not that hard to sort of do. And some people are saying, well, this is the new woke captain who, is free of toxic masculinity. I'm like, oh, maybe this is deliberate. Maybe they wanted him to play him bland and, with no personality and no swagger, because apparently swagger is threatening or something. I don't know. I'm a man. I like men. I don't have any issues with men. Some people have issues with men being men. I don't get the whole thing. So I don't know how to explain why this actor did such a bad portrayal of Kirk, why so many people are defending it, aside from the fact of just wanting to argue. And some people absolutely exist for confrontation, and they'll find it anywhere. They'll stake a claim on anything they can argue about with people. So maybe it's that. I don't know. But I just wanted to talk for a little bit about that sort of phenomenon and sort of the idea of, him being a different Kirk. Like, I only saw people arguing the timeline in the people who believe it's the same universe, talking about the timeline changing that, and that didn't make any sense. It only really makes sense if you look at the overall universe issue, which I didn't think about till this second. But I got about a minute left. I think I'm done. I'm disappointed. I can't see him improving his performance. Now, if he only pops up, because we saw some shots of him doing a scene with Lan on the street, so he must be in season 2. At first, I thought, oh, he's not in season 2. They were just trying to hide the fact it's in the final by saying, oh, that's all shooting for season 2. But then the scene with Lan on the street didn't happen in that episode, so he must appear in season 2. Whether that goes further in the future again, or it's a different timeline, if Pike's still trying to resolve his issues, or whether it's actually him as like a cadet or something, or a smaller, lower down officer on the Farragut, or Starfleet Academy. I don't know how they're going to use him, but I can't see him giving a different or better performance, and I hope we only see him once or twice. I sure as hellberries hope they don't have him back for a post Strange New Worlds TOS, reboot, and I can't imagine 5 years of him playing Kirk. It would be so bland. It would be mind numbing. But I'm going to go. I've basically got to 10 minutes. Yeah, so those are all the issues floating around my head regarding Pike, and I just sort of had to, eventually, enough of them cropped up to make a video out of it, and I'm going to go and continue obsessing about whether or not to go to World Pride or not. I'm going to go. Bye.